As I walk on this path of life, guided by the wasp insight. Every word, every line, every page I read, transforming my soul, planting a seed. Embracing the wisdom of the ancient text, in every chapter feeling blessed. The truth it unveils, the secrets it holds, connecting me to the universe's modes. Living in harmony, in peace and love, enlightened, shining from above. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. Embracing the light, letting go of the dark. And every moment, creating my mark. Through trials and tribulations I stand tall, but watch these teachings breaking every wall. My spirit soaring, my heart at peace, in the wisdom of a wasp finding release. Aligned with the cosmos in perfect flow, living by its principles, letting my light glow. Harmony and love, the essence of my being. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. Embracing the light, letting go of the dark. In every moment, creating my mark. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. Embracing the light, letting go of the dark. In every moment, creating my mark. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. A new dawn, embracing the light, letting go of the dark. In every moment, creating my mark, creating my mark. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. I spit, guiding me on. Oh.
Welcome to the Jehovih Chronicles with your host, Mound.
Yeah, the game coming, creator king coming. Turning up the light and watching boys start running. Let me tell you something, we ain't out here doing nothing. I can tell you scared, boy, niggas stop fronting. It was all in the plan.
Create a gang is crazy. Boy, y'all better pay attention. Create a gang is crazy. Boy, y'all better pay attention.
Welcome to an introduction to the Mound Builders, the first in a 4-part series entitled An American Deception. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Brown-skinned people, from very light to the darkest of dark, have existed in the Americas continuously for many thousands of years. Writer Jack Forbes, in his book Africans and Native Americans, said, "Many, but not all, Native Americans were brown or dark-colored without African ancestry. These brown-skinned people lived here long before the dawn of European civilization and the arrival of the European settlers. When the Europeans arrived to the shores of the United States, they encountered a culture of people that became known as the Mound Builders. Mound Builder is a general term referring to the indigenous inhabitants of North America who built various styles of earthen mounds for burial, residential, and ceremonial purposes. Here you see a sampling of mound sites that have been discovered in the United States. These mounds are primarily visible from the Mississippi River to the Appalachian Mountains, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. Most are located along rivers and streams which the Native Americans used for provisions. The most modern Native American cultures have been divided into three eras. The Archaic era, from 8000 BCE, or before the Christian era, to 1000 BCE. The Woodland era, from 1000 BCE to 1000 CE, or the Christian era. And the Mississippian era, from the years 1000 to 1700. And there is evidence of mound builders in all three eras. The mound builders have been attributed to building four basic types of mounds. The most common mounds are the conical mounds. Conical mounds are mounds that are cone or oval shaped. Many of these types of mounds were for burial purposes. Burial mounds ranged in height from 3 feet to 25 feet, and the remains were probably of someone of importance in the society. Conical mounds that weren't burial mounds can have heights up to 70 feet. The second type of mound is the earthen mound or earthen lodge. This type of mound usually had a fire pit in the center and was used for important meetings amongst the chiefs. The Europeans, after their arrival, utilized these mounds by turning them into their military forts, amongst other things. The third type of mounds are effigy mounds. Effigy mounds are mounds that are in the shape of animals, symbols, religious, or human figures. These mounds may have served as territorial markers or enhanced sacred ceremonial ground where people met for major events. Modern Native American shaman or spiritual healers suggest that the effigy mounds enhanced the power for healing and communication with the ancestor spirits. The last type of mound is the platform mound. Platform mounds or temple mounds are flat-topped mounds which were used to house temples for the leaders, for ceremonial purposes, sometimes for residences, and sometimes for survival needs such as observing up and down the waterways for unwanted visitors.
Welcome back. Even here in Philadelphia, there are remnants of these great and ancient structures. I stand now at the steps of Philadelphia's famous landmark, the Philadelphia Museum of Art. But did you also know that this historic location, which the museum now occupies, was once called Fairmount by the colonial settlers? Up until the time of colonial settlement, this land belonged to the indigenous Americans. And if the mound would have remained undisturbed, it would have been classified as a platform mound today. In 1812, an engine house was built at the bottom of Fairmount to pump water from the Schuylkill River to the top. This later became known as the Fairmount Waterworks. In 1919, the mound began its most recent transformation into what is now known as the Philadelphia Museum of Art. You have just finished watching the first in the four-part series entitled An American Deception. For more information, please email us at anamericandeception@gmail.com.
Shout out to Red Tail Hawk and Red Silver Fox Thunderbird. You dig what I'm talking about? Some of the very first people I was seeing breaking it down some years ago. It's got to be a decade now. But shout out to them for bringing out this information. And today, I want to go further into some of this information, and we're gonna go right here. First and foremost, all praise is due to the Most High Creator, the incomprehensible, the all, the Creator, the Destroyer, the Quickener, the Move. And we want to get into, well, first of all, this is Jehovih Chronicles. Salute to everybody who coming back for another turn. You dig what I'm saying? This is Jehovih Chronicles. This is number 181, the Remnants of the Mound Builders. And we're going to get into some of this serpent symbology right today, and then see what's proven historically and scientifically using the empirical data, and then turn around and tie it all up with the understanding now being brought forth through Owaspy, or the Book of Earth, Sky, and Spirit. I wonder sometimes, like, when you understand that Owaspy means earth, sky, and spirit, to understand the entire earth, sky, and spirit, what more is there? I mean, if you were going to have a book that was supposed to purportedly to be a spiritual guidebook, wouldn't those be the things you'd want to know about? The earth, sky, spirit. This is why I love when Owaspy says it is a practical guidebook to the spiritual world. Shout out for everybody coming through, man. Who we got up in here? Got the daughter of the Great Spirit up in here. Yes. Little girl. Hold on, y'all. 1 second. 1 second. Oh, my God. Don't knock it over. Come on, puppy, okay? Okay. All right, y'all. Who else we got up in here? Goddess Citrion Atlantean. VC up in this thing. My Ima's always been better than your Ima. Mahala y'all naturals in the house. You dig what I'm talking about? We got Just Me up in here. Johnny James up in here. Ahuba Lifestyle up in here. Bishop X up in here. Salute to everybody coming through. You dig what I'm saying? Without further ado, let's see if I can blow this up just a little bit for y'all. This is from the book. Make sure I can be heard. If I can be heard, hit me with a 1 in the chat, y'all. Hit me with a 1 in the chat. Make sure my sound is coming through good and everything is all right. Hit me with a 1 in the chat real quick. Let's get this thing popping off real fast. This is from the American Archaeological Researches, volume number 1, called The Serpent Symbol and the Worship of the Reciprocal Principles of Nature in America by E.G. Squire. This is from 1851. Yep. And entered according to the Act of Congress in the year 1851. By E.G. Squire. Let's drop down here to page 111. All right. I'm going to go to 111. That's more to go. Mm-hmm. 1 second, Chuck. We want to go right here to chapter 4. All right, make sure everybody can see this. This is chapter 4 in serpent symbol in the worship of the reciprocal principles of nature. Right? It says this chapter is sun or fire worship in America, its rationale and attendant rights. So right here, for those who all of us who already understand, they're already off. They're already you got to remember, this is an outsider trying to explain what he's looking at. So they call it sun worship or fire worship, not having the spiritual insight to actually see that the sun or the fire is just a representative, a symbolic gesture towards the Great Spirit, right? Not that they ever praised the sun or that they ever praised fire, right? Being that it's applied during rituals or rites and ceremonies, they mistake it as religion when it actually is not. Let's go read down what he says right here. This is sun or fire worship in America, its rationale and attendant rights. Can we prove any of what he's saying? Right? Let's go look at some of this stuff and then show it in OWASP, show it in real time. It's all got to tie in. If it don't all tie in, it's not true. Right? In another connection, the opinion is unhesitantly advanced that the religious or superstitions of the American nations, however different they may appear to the superficial glance, are rudimentarily the same and are only modifications of that primitive system, right? He's calling it a primitive system, but we're going to be able to put this on a timeline. Watch this, y'all. Of that primitive system, which under its physical aspect has been denominated sun or fire worship. See? You gotta understand it right there. Hush up. You gotta understand it right there that they are calling it, right? This primitive system. If it's a system, is it science? If it's a system, is it not science? Natural science? Which under its physical aspect has been denominated sun or fire worship. Some of the grounds for this belief have already been presented, and it is unnecessary to recapitulate them here. He says, see the note in chapter 1. To the sun as the celestial symbol of the beneficent great father, or elementary active principle of nature, the adorations of the Indians were principally directed right to the who? The Great Spirit, the Great Father. Fire was esteemed in the intermediate terrestrial agent, sacred to the sun and partaking of its nature, and to it were consigned the sacrifices prescribed by the Indian ritual. The ceremonies attending these sacrifices vary considerably among the different families and are quite complicated among the semi-civilized nations. They nevertheless were substantially the same. The lighting of the new fire, for instance, was attended with ceremonials materially differing among the respective nations who practiced it. Yet no one doubts that the origin of the rite was the same amongst the Peruvians, the Aztecs, and the North American Indians. It is not therefore necessary for our purpose, even were it possible to do so, to collect from a long list of authorities all the ceremonials of the Indian sacrifices. We shall, for this reason, derive our illustrations chiefly from the practices of the tribes which formerly inhabited the shores of the Mexican Gulf, concerning whose customs and rites we are best informed. Listen to this, y'all. Listen to what he says. He's talking about the people who we would call Aztecs today, the people who we would call Mayans. Listen to what he says. The Creeks, the Cherokees or the Anayawias, and the Choctaws. The Creeks, the Cherokees, and the Choctaws. The real ones now. And their affiliated tribes. In common with what? The Aztecs and Peruvians had a series of festivals corresponding to the lunations of the year, the lunations, which means what? The moon cycles, which were attended with peculiar observances, with purifications, dances, and sacrifices. Besides these, there were others occurring at fixed periods which were deemed of more importance than the lunar festivals and were celebrated with greater form and ceremony. Occasional festivals were also observed by these nations, some of them happening at intervals of several years. Watch this. All these tribes, says Adir, I guess this is James Adir, paid their religious devoee to the Loak Isto Hula Abba, right? Now we know Hula means superior, right? Because what is Lake Michigan called? What is Lake Superior called? It's called Hula Hula. Hula Hula Pan, right? So Hula Abba, or the Supreme Father, the Great Spirit, right? Loakistu Hula Abba, the great, look, the beneficent, look, the supreme, superior, Hula. Remember, Lake Superior is called Hula Hula Pan. Superior, supreme, holy, spirit of fire. Loak Ishtu, who resides, they think, above the clouds and on earth among unpolluted people. He is with them, the sole author of warm light and of all animal and vegetable life. He also states that, watch out. He also states that the very names of some of these tribes indicate that they were sun or fire worshippers. Thus, Cherokee, or as it is often written, Cherokee, is derived from Chira, or fire. Hence, they call their magi, right, Chiratagri, Chiratagi, Cheretagi. Men possessed of the divine fire. First on the list of the greater festivals was the Great Solar Festival, or Feast of First Fruits. If you're a Nazarene, you're an Israelite, huh? If you are Vedic, if you are Shinto, you practice Taoism, all of you have a feast of the first fruits and also an offering of the first fruits in your sacrificial ritual understanding. Every single one of you. Buddhism too, Brahmanism too. They all have first fruit ceremonies, which was signalized by the lighting of a new fire and was everywhere attended with peculiar and imposing rites. The time fixed for its celebration was the period of the maturity of the maize. So the end of the growing season, which is, for those who don't know, November 25th, or what we would commonly call today Thanksgiving. Y'all see that? The time for its celebration was the period of the maturity of the maize. That's at the end of November. And consequently varied under different latitudes among the Eastern nations. This festival still continued and is well known as the what? The green corn dance. The ceremonies attending it, however, retain little of their original character. Right? I think I just want to read this one more, and then we're going to jump into some of this. This festival, as observed by the southern tribes, is described at length by Adair, who contrasted with what? The Hebrew Passover. This is why they always confusing Indians with Israelites, not understanding that when you're saying words like Israelite, you're saying praiser of the Great Spirit. But what do you call that same praiser of the Great Spirit in India? What do you call them in China? What do you call them in America? A praiser of the Great Spirit in Africa is called Israel. A praiser of the Great Spirit in America is called Algonquin. In a sense, they're the same word because they do the same thing, but they're not necessarily the same people. You see what I'm saying? You got to understand that the Creator doesn't teach different things over here and something different over here and something different over there. Right? This is how me, Malachi, Sela Shalom, Daryl Cosman, we say the same exact things. We don't teach a different doctrine, which is proof of the falsity of the text, and hence the God. If two people can look at the same book and get two total different understandings from it, two total different private understandings from the same book and the same God, that's proof of its inharmony and that it's not of the Creator. There should never be a IUIC, a GMS, Sakari, ISUPK, and they all teach different doctrines, totally different understandings. That's because the God is confusing, right? Hinting towards that it is not the Creator. If it is not in harmony, if it is not in oneness, those are proves towards that it's not from the Creator, but a God, right? A fallible entity, a deity, right? A dare contrasted with the Hebrew Passover, right? They got to understand that everywhere, even if you spoke the same language, once you got the praising, it's going to start looking very similar if you praise in the Great Spirit, right? Very similar. Irregardless of where you are in the world, you're going to pretty much see a lot of the same things, a lot of the same corresponding actions and rituals and ceremonies taking. But why? Why does it look the same, and how do you prove it? Right? We're gonna go a little further though. According to his account, it was instituted in acknowledgement of the first fruits of the year and was attended with the entire extinguishment of the old and the lighting of the new fires. It was observed at the beginning of the first new moon after the corn became full-eared. The sacred square was swept in advance, and the temple placed in proper order and painted anew. Everything being thus prepared, the Archmagus ordered some of the religious attendants to dig up the old hearth or altar and sweep out the remains which by chance might either be left or have dropped down. Then he placed a few roots of the button snake herb with some green leaves of small tobacco and a little of the new fruits at the bottom of the fireplace, which was covered up with a white marley clay and wetted over with clean water. Above the altar thus formed, and which may explain the origin of those found in one class of the ancient mounds of the United States, was made an arbor. An arbor of green branches of young trees. Interesting. Meanwhile, the women cleaned out their hearths at home and cleaned their household utensils preparatory to receiving the sanctified new fruits and the holy fire. None of the new fruits could be lawfully used until after the festival or sacrifice. Sentinels were then placed at the four corners of the holy square, who kept out all animals and would allow no person to enter who had transgressed the law governing the use of the fruit of the first fruits. For 2 days, an unbroken fast was maintained. The devotees drinking decoctions of bitter herb only used on sacred occasions with a view to mortification and purification. On the morning of the third day, a supply of old food was introduced, all vestiges of which were removed before noon. As the sun began to decline, the fires were extinguished in every hut, and universal silence prevailed. The chief priest then kindled a fire by friction and placed it on the altar. When it was hailed with acclamations as the atonement for all past transgressions except murder. A basket of new fruits was then brought, and the sacrifice commenced. The fire maker walked 3 times around the fire with a slow pace, stopping now and then and uttering mysterious words which none but the initiated could understand. He then took a little of each sort of the new fruits, excuse me, covering them with bear's grease. Bear's grease. You use that for your hair. There's only one people put grease in their hair. That they might burn the more freely, offered them with some flesh on the altar to the bountiful Holy Spirit of fire. The penitential drought was also consecrated, a portion of it being poured upon the altar. The women ranged themselves around the sacred square, where each received, with various ceremonies and injunctions, a portion of the new fire. They like they new fire with the fire from the first fruits. Oh, that's dope. And then they take it to their house and okay. With various ceremonies and injunctions, a portion of the new fire, with which the log fires were to be kindled anew. Then came a full abandonment to the enjoyment of the new fruits. These warriors dressed themselves in their wildest martial array and maintained their strange dances to the melody of equally strange songs and solemn, monotonous music around the new fire, which they kept steadily burning for 8 days. These ceremonies were kept up, during which time absolute continence and various restrictions were rigorously observed. The festival was ended by a general ablution and a grand general dance in